Our first guest is a community organizer, entrepreneur, and reverend of Urban Hope Refuge Church in Hartford, Connecticut, and president of Delta Pi Sigma chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Please welcome Reverend AJ Johnson. Hello, Reverend AJ.
Hello, thank you so much, man. That was one of the greatest introductions I've ever had in my life, man. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So we just recently we had a election, which presidential election was Joe Biden won, and the turnout was pretty big for the city of Hartford, especially for young first time voters, especially for Black youth voters. How does that make you feel seeing Black youth, going out to the polls, especially the Black community?
Shemai, thank you so much. That's an awesome question. It felt great to see so many young voters go to the polls last week. It was because of those young voters that we delivered one of the most historical elections in my generation and probably your generation.
Yeah.
Because this was an election not just about policy, but this election was about the moral heart of this country. This election was about race, in a lot of different ways. So I want to shout out to the 18-year-olds who went and voted for the first time. It was energetic and it was Obama type numbers out at the polling places in Hartford.
Yeah, yeah. And you spoke to Channel 8 WTNH and said, quotes, that you and 40 other pastors plan to lobby Governor Lamont to make racism a public health emergency. So how's that working out? And why should racism be a public health, considered as a public health emergency?
Well, I mean, this is a lot of work, and quite frankly, I'm going to need those that are watching, the students in your school. I'm going to need your help. We have not gotten the governor's attention. We sent him a letter on uh, on June 15th, after post the George Floyd situation,
Mhm. Actually,
requesting
Juneteenth.
exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, I was actually with the governor that day covering another thing in my town. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so we sent the email to him and all of the legislators in the state of Connecticut, uh, asking that they declare racism a public health crisis in Connecticut. Connecticut is a very interesting place just because we don't have police officers that are uh, putting their knee on someone's neck and killing them for the world to see. We still experience racism in a lot of different forms. We experience racism in education. We experience racism in how Connecticut is segregated, how people of color can't move to certain suburban spaces. There's no affordable housing. We experience racism, obviously, in economics and how the wealth gap is in Connecticut. So this is a problem, although it may not be a national problem where the world will see it. For those people of color that live in Connecticut, experience racism in a lot of different ways, and it needs to be addressed.
You haven't been a community organizer for a while in the city of Hartford. You help minimum wage go up. You help for, especially for fast food workers, McDonald's and stuff. You were on the streets protesting for those workers. But this summer it was Black Lives Matter. How do you think Hartford and Connecticut was affected by Black Lives Matter this summer?
Oh yeah, no doubt. Let me finish what I was saying regarding your question that you previously asked. The question I wanted to make known is how I need your help. I need your help by reaching out to the governor. I need the students in your school who feel that racism is a thing to reach out to the governor and let him know that we have to declare racism a public health crisis. You asked a question regarding the Black Lives Matter. How has that made a difference? I mean, Black Lives Matter is kind of like, the new SNCC. Is kind of like the new organizing efforts that we read about in history books. Black Lives Matter is what that is to young people today, and so it is encouraging to see young people go out and protest. It is encouraging to see young people and get in good trouble. But I will say that being someone who has been deeply involved in justice work since I was your age, one thing I remember being your age was I wanted things to happen quickly. I wanted change to happen like this. And as a 36-year-old man with two children, I understand that change takes a long time. Progress takes time, and that is something that we have to see through. So I'm encouraged by the young activists that were out in the street organizing people to come out for police accountability and a host of other issues. But I also know that it just can't be a flash in the pan thing. You have to stick with these issues and see them through. You have to see these issues through. They're not going to happen overnight. Uh, Things happen over time. And so, as I am encouraged with the young Black Lives Matter activists, I also want to see them move from protests to real policy. And policy takes time. Policy is where you get the changes that you want to see so you don't have to continue being out on the street protesting. Policy will help change that. There's a story, Shamai, about the babies going down the river. And I'll share the story with you just for a brief moment. There was a story about babies coming down this river. There was a guy fishing by the riverbank. And as he was fishing, he looked in the river and he saw two babies coming down the river. He jumped in, saved the two babies, called his friend and said, guys, we need to bring towels down here because I found two babies. His friends came down, brought him towels. He went back fishing. He goes back fishing. He looks, there's 5 more babies coming down the river. He jumps in the water, saves the 5 babies, calls his friend and says, hey, I need you to help me bring food for these babies. And so they do. Long story short, he goes back fishing. Another 15 babies come down. A young lady, a Black woman, right, comes to the riverbank and observe what's going on and asks the question, have you gone up river to see where these babies are coming from? Have you gone up river to see who's doing this evil? And so I say that to say, those that are young activists who want to do the work of justice, you can't be content just maintaining what you have. You have to go up river and see where the issues are coming from.
Good analogy there. I love the good trouble analogy too from John Lewis. You said you have sons. Your wife Melinda and 2 handsome sons. How do you plan to teach them how to react when they're in the eyes of police?
Yeah, I hope that I don't have to. I mean, I think I have a 3-year-old and 11-month-old who's going to be a year very soon, and I hope by the time they get to your age and high school age, we won't have to have this conversation in about 17, 16 years. That's my goal for us not to have to, that's my goal, not to have to teach my sons what was taught to me interacting with police. Police are servants to our community. They are paid through our taxes, and their job is to protect and serve, not kill and irritate or agitate. Their job is to protect and serve. And so when the protectors become the killers, we have to do something about that. So I hope not to, but in the event that I have to do so, I'm going to give them the same spill that any young Black man should know. Try not to put yourself in a situation where the police are asking you questions. Try to obey the law as much as possible. If you do get pulled over, make sure that everything is correct on your vehicle. Make sure your hands are in plain sight. Make sure you record, right? Because what we've seen is that racism has been around a long time, but right now it's being recorded and magnified for the world to see. So I would encourage anyone as they get pulled over to be respectful and have your camera in a respectful way and follow the instructions that are given to you. It is unfortunate that we have Black men and Black women that are dying at the hands of the police. But we hope to change this. Your generation will change this.
I love it. You're an entrepreneur, like I mentioned earlier. Where you sell clothing for men, for like hats, socks, and etc. Tell us why you wanted to start this business.
Yeah, the name of the business is Brothers Johnson 1929 Hat Company. And this business is something that was started because I wanted to leave a legacy for my children. My father, when he passed, he left me a church, and I had to make the decision to to do the church or not, and I decided to do it. But as you know, as I began to grow and mature as a man, I wanted to leave a legacy for my children where they don't have to go work for someone else. They can go work for the business that their family and their father created for them. And so that's what I wanted to leave for my children and for my family, a financial mechanism to help them learn leadership, to help them learn responsibility, and not to go work for anyone else, but to work for themselves. And so it started like that. And
Okay.
so we're in Buckland Hills Mall for the holiday season. So for those who are looking for a hat or a tie or something, everything at my hat stand is Black owned. And so that's very important because we have to not only protest, but we have to figure out the economics. Economics is a big piece of creating social change in Black communities. Too many times we have other nationalities coming into our Black communities, creating businesses, but we don't have anything for ourselves. So we have to be more entrepreneurial. And so that's what we wanted to start for our children.
Okay. A lot of people call you a leader, a hero, or a fighter. What do you believe? Finish your sentence. AJ Johnson is what?
AJ Johnson is passionate. AJ Johnson uh, likes to win. AJ Johnson doesn't believe in failure, but believes in knowledge acquired. And so these are the things that make me who I am. I believe that a community should be something that is vibrant. A community should be something where you don't have to send your kids out of their own communities to get a good education. I don't believe that we should go halfway across town to shop or get groceries. I believe that everything that we need should be in our Black community. If you notice, here again, Black Americans saved the country from from its own ridiculous impulses, right? Like, and so if we have the power to change elections, we sure enough have the power to change our communities. We have the power to change our communities economically. We have the power to change our communities politically, and we have the power to change our communities educationally. So these are the things that make me who I am, and that what I want to continue to fight for in my town called the city of Hartford.
Thank you so much, Reverend AJ, for your time and for your dedication to my show and to the Black community here in Connecticut. Thank you so much.
I want to applaud you for this show. I didn't even go to Bloomfield High School, but the way that you're doing this is encouraging, and it's good to see young people engaging in big topics and big issues like this. Congratulations to you, and congratulations to your school. Shout out to Principal White.
Thank you so much, the entire Principal White. And we shall be back right after this.